We haven't got a meeting, and that's the most efficient and effective way to run these meetings of the Mid Wales Corporate Joint Committee. First off, I would like to ask to see whether we have any apologies. Steve, I'm looking at you for that.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies from Emma Palmer, the Chief Executive Powys, and Daniel Burgess.
Thank you very much. Are there any from Ceredigion, or are they all present and accounted for? Yeah, okay, thank you. Item 2 then is disclosures of interest. So I'm just looking at any hands. Usually it would be unusual, I think, given the agenda for there to be any disclosures. I'm not seeing any, so that is taken as that is the case. Item 3 then is for us to have a look of the minutes of the previous meeting. And sorry, I've just pulled up the wrong agenda there. And that is found on pages 3 to 6 of the pack, and we're referring there to the meeting of the 8th of October 2025. And I'm just looking to see whether colleagues are prepared to accept those, firstly, as an accurate record. I've got Councillor Brian. Brian, are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, happy as a guinea, Jack.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder for that? I've got Councillor Gareth Ratcliffe for the National Park. So thank you. We'll just have a quick show of hands in relation to the adoption of those. Yes, I'm seeing consistency across the screen there. We don't pick up matters arising there because they tend to get cycled back onto agendas. I don't think there's anything, having looked at the minutes, that we've missed that need picking up. I'm seeing shaking of heads, so thank you, in which case we'll move to the next item, which makes sure I've got that right, the strategic. No, I've got the wrong agenda up. Hang on. Yes, it is item 5 then. It's the Strategic Development Planning Subcommittee. No, that's the
RTP, I think it's verbal.
RTP, sorry. Thank you, Brian. You're such a good chair. Thank you very much. You can come and swap. You'll be on soon enough. Okay, who's taking us through this today?
Chair, I think it was just to note that the RTP has been signed off by the subcommittee and has been submitted to Welsh Government.
I thought there might just be a little update in respect of item 4 on the agenda, the RTP. Did I hear that in advance of the meeting, Ivan?
Yeah, we've had a letter from Kent Gates now to say that it's been approved in full. However, there is a deadline tomorrow where we do need to submit a few more small bits of information to Welsh Government. So, but I know that the teams across Mid Wales have got all of that sorted out, and that's in hand. So that'll go tomorrow. That shouldn't change the situation at all. So the letter we've had from Kent Gates is a very positive one. If you remember, Chair, we had a discussion just before Christmas. There were some challenges that came back to ask us about the detail around our submission, and both Powys and Ceredigion teams have worked diligently over that period of time to make sure that we provided all the necessary information, and subsequently that's how we've received this letter from the Minister this week.
Thank you very much for that. And you're absolutely right. There was a slight wobble in respect of that. And it's a good example where our robust combined approach in taking a response back to the Minister and demonstrating how we as a partnership would be able to deliver on that RTP, I think was very well received and welcome, and it looks like it's put us in really good stead. So I would like to thank both members and officers that were involved in that little piece of further work with the Cabinet Secretary. So thank you, and it's good news. Let's hope we can get it across the line in the next day or so. Thank you. So the next item, the first substantive item, is the economic wellbeing update, and I was just alluding to this just before we came into the meeting as an example of where we as a corporate joint committee have taken a very clear view that around the economic well-being and economic development aspects, we would continue to deliver as a partnership through Growing Mid Wales rather than through the CJC, which is a route that others may have taken. But who's going to just take us through what is actually a very positive update this morning? This afternoon.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. So Caroline is with us today, but he is a little under the weather, so I'll be presenting this update. So the report is for information and update on the economic wellbeing activity across Mid Wales, and is essentially a snapshot of what's moving across skills, investment, energy and funding, and a bit of horizon scanning. So on skills, the RSP is continuing to progress well against the 6 priorities in the employment and skills plan. There's a growing emphasis on net zero and green skills in line with Welsh Government expectations, alongside ongoing work to better align provisions with growth deal projects as well. So members may wish to note that the Career Connections pilot is now live in 5 secondary schools, focusing initially on construction and advanced manufacturing, and the Careers in 360 digital platform has soft launched with encouraging early take-up. So further functionality on that is currently being developed. So turning to the Mid Wales growth deal, the portfolio continues to move forward steadily. There are now 10 projects across key sectors with around 6.8 million contractually committed, and several projects moving from planning into delivery, which is great news. A small number of projects have been considered through the stop-go process in January by the Growing Mid Wales board. So no projects were removed at this stage. Instead, time-limited conditions and further reviews were agreed to allow projects to strengthen their business cases. And this is working as intended in terms of maintaining discipline while keeping options open. And the recent portfolio assurance review returned an amber green rating, giving confidence in governance and strategic alignment. So we've come a long way. Members will also be aware that the OBC for Montgomery Canal restoration was approved, securing 8 million of growth deal funding, subject to their full business case approval, and some further clarification on a few questions, which will be going back to the Mid Wales board, the Growing Mid Wales board in March. And alongside this, very excitingly, there's a pipeline refresh, which is underway to broaden the region's future investment opportunities. So this includes filtering recent inquiries and shaping a stronger pipeline, but not just for the growth deal, it's for Mid Wales as a whole to position some future funding. So we are hoping to deliver a report, well, we will deliver the report in March, and we've had many meetings with projects, and it's very exciting. On energy, the focus remains on delivery of the LAEP, with good engagement underway with network operators. 4 Mid Wales projects have successfully secured phase 2 funding through WSRID programme, and the team continues to link this work closely with skills and training. Finally, on UK Shared Prosperity Fund, there's 92%, that was at the time of reporting, that has increased since then, of the 13 million allocation across 59 projects. Delivery has been extended to September 2026 by MHCLG, and we have signed to agree to that, but there is no additional funding, and officers are currently working through the implications of that and how long an extension might be given if it's given. And in parallel to that, preparations are still ongoing for the transition to the new local growth fund, which we've had an indicative funding amount of 12.2 million allocated to Mid Wales for 2026-27. but we are still waiting for some final Welsh Government decisions, and we're starting to work with them collaboratively on that. So overall, things are moving in the right direction, and Councillor Berriman, as you said, is a positive place to be at the moment. So governance is working as intended. The region is well placed as we move into the next phase of delivery and future funding. But I'm happy to take any questions. And or
thank you
Karen's got
thank you
anything.
very much. Yeah, I mean, it's a very comprehensive and positive report, and you summarised it excellently there for us, Natalie. So thank you very much for that. Councillor Brian.
Ie, na, dy ffordd ti, Natalie, fel wedodd Jake, ti wedi crynhoi hwnna eitha da gyda'i ydy. Cyn i o ran yr elfen egni, cyn i mae Jake a finne mynd i cwrdd gyda DNOs yn chweched o mis Mawrth fi'n credu, felly byddai'n diddorol beth fydd gyda nhw i weid. Fi'n credu bydde Jake a finne o'r un farn bod eisiau rhagor o buddsoddi yn rhwydwaith ar draws Canolbarth Cymru. Beth sy'n becso fi yw beth sy'n digwydd ar ôl mis Mai o ran yr etholiadau a pwy bynnag fydd mewn fyny. Felly, falle bydd yna cyfleoedd, ond falle mi fyddwn ni colli cyfleoedd hefyd. Felly, mae'n dibynnu'n gywir siwr eith beth efo ni, beth bynnag. Ond na, felly fi'n cymryd bod ti Jake yn ymwybodol o'r cyfarfod yna yn mis Mawrth hefyd, byddwn ni'n meddwl. Diolch.
I have seen it, Brian. I will now just check that it's gone in my diary. There was some discussion about it, but absolutely right. Every opportunity that IOU get, we do petition for a growth in the local network, because without that, we're going to find it very difficult for our businesses and our residents to meet their changing energy demands, aren't we? Carwyn, you've dropped your hand. Is that fine?
Just a short comment regarding the DNO meeting. It's taken a while to get in, and just to answer Councillor Brian's concerns around the election, I will share with members that the DNOs actually wanted to postpone that meeting yet again and not hold it until the summer. So I think we'll have a briefing, we'll have a conversation before, but I think it'll be critically important to state effectively that, where our needs and demands will be as a region, and that we can work with the DNOs consistently, because politics at a national level should not affect effectively what we need in Mid Wales. So there's a conversation there we'll have down the line.
No, thank you. It is in my diary, and I've been separately petitioning to meet with the DNOs. And as you rightly said, they wouldn't meet before the Senedd elections, but it is a conversation that we need to have, bearing in mind that the Welsh Government's own reports are now coming back in respect of the Welsh grid network. Okay, thank you very much. If there is I'm not looking to prolong a discussion. If there are no other points on that, I'll just thank Natalie and officers for bringing that summary forward, and go on to the Section 151 officer report, which is contained, I think, starting at page 19 of the pack.
Diolch, Chair. So this is the usual annual budget setting report. We're looking to revise the current year's budget as well as set next year's budget. And as members will be aware, there's a legal requirement to set the budget by the 31st of January. So hence doing it at this juncture. In terms of the updated budget for 25-26, interesting position in year. We do have 2 grants from Welsh Government direct into the CJC. So there's one for regional transport plan, £200,000, and one for more general costs, which is partly capacity building, but there's a number of strands that in effect it can help with most of our core costs in the current year, and that one's £200,000 as well. And there's a commitment actually that 200,000, the second one, the general one, will extend for 2 further years. Although, as was said in the preamble, the small matter of the May Senedd elections will obviously mean a taking stock post those elections and see what the landscape means.
Duncan, can I just pause you there, because that is a significant funding opportunity, and I was really delighted. I think Brian was in the same meeting potentially when the Minister for Housing and Local Government gave a very warm welcome to the bid that Sarah had put in on our behalf, our joint behalf, to get shared officer report. She actually headlined with that and said that was really welcome, and indicated we'd be getting some good news, I thought, quite quickly on that. So is there an update on that, or is that something that will go first to the Strategic Planning Subcommittee?
I've not seen anything specific as yet in relation to the SDP on its own, no. So I imagine it will be an update whenever there is an update to give.
All right, thank you. Sounded positive anyway, and worth noting here anyway. Thank you, Duncan. Sorry for the intervention.
No, probs, and almost that reflects the fluidity of the CJC, and I think almost CJC budgets become a bit like council budgets, that they're not tablets of stone that only change once a year. They need to be fluid to react to grants as they come along. So in effect, the budget for this year being updated, and also then the budget for next year, and I'll come on to that in a second, are largely predicated on making sure we maximise the use of the Welsh Government funding that's available. And therefore that may mean temporarily there's a less of a reliance on core funding and more about maximising the grant in the short term and then taking stock post the Senedd elections. So in terms of, I've touched on 25, 26, 26, 27 then, in terms of the available funding, we understand there'll be £100,000 for the regional transport plan, another £200,000 for the more general side, and the specific SDP, as we say, is to be confirmed really. So the 100,000 and the 200,000 predicates next year's budget. What we are proposing to do though is to continue the levy, because I think the worst thing to do would be to have a yo-yo effect and sort of levy one year, not levy the next year. On the basis we've all got it in our base budgets, it would make sense to continue the levy. Now in the short term that means the reserves will benefit. Now there will be an option if at any point our reserves are deemed to be excessive. At any point there could be a one-off in effect refund to all parties of their levying contributions, and that will obviously be best done at a year end to sort of take stock of where any particular financial year has got to. But going back to the SDP, having a reserve would be a good starting point if we need to provide some match funding on that SDP journey. So there's a reason for holding a decent level of reserves. But as I say, if it becomes excessive, the board could consider a refund at any point in time. So in effect, we are proposing that the levy continues at exactly the same level as the current year into next financial year 26/7, which would mean £100,000 for each of Powys and Ceredigion County Councils, and then Banau Brycheiniog, the same level again, £6,700 towards the strategic planning dynamic. In terms of reserves then, what the figures would mean reserves would be projected by the 31st of March 2027, so the end of next financial year, all things being equal, they could arrive at £405,000 on the general side and £164,000 on the strategic planning side. But obviously we'll keep budgets under continual review, and I can imagine there might be a need to do a mid-year budget update for 26/27 once that post-Senedd election landscape is clearer. And actually in terms of that landscape as well, that will help feed into how do we sort of run the coordination type role. That probably needs a bit of clarity into the medium term. And as the strategic economic side matures, does there need to be any resource through the CJC for that outside of what's going on in Growing Mid Wales? But that's all conversations that can progress during the course of 26/27. I suppose the only other point I wanted to make very briefly, clearly we've got the local growth fund, son or daughter of UK SPF coming, and the regional transport plan funding, the £12.8 million, as was touched on. Now it's very clear the CJC stance is that we've got a good model that's worked in terms of UK SPF, which is that lead authority role. So as things stand, those particular budgets, that's the proposal, that as long as Welsh Government let us, we propose to continue with a host authority delivery model, and therefore those aspects wouldn't come through the CJC, apart from that small £100,000 grant that will come to the CJC. So in that sense, the recommendations, you've got three sets of recommendations. 4.1 relates to the general budget. So that's for Ceredigion and Powys members only. 4.2 covers the strategic planning budget. So that's for all members, including Banau Brycheiniog. And then there's an additional recommendation under 4.3, which just reinforces and touched on that delivery model proposed for the regional transport funding and the local growth fund, to emphasise or re-emphasise the preferred model of a lead authority model. So I'll pause there, Chair.
Thank you very much. And just before I move into each of those sections with the relevant people having the opportunity to vote, it may sound like a daft question, and but can Ivan perhaps just confirm that the relevant conversations have happened between the receiving authorities, so the principals there, that we've made provision in our budgets in Ceredigion and Powys and in the park to actually accept any recommendation that we make today.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, full agreement.
Thank you very much. I would hate for us to do that and there to be a problem back at the ranch. I'll turn now to you, Brian.
Yeah, well, the same question could be put to Gareth with regards to Banifechrinog as well. I think if Gareth is happy i cynnig dilyn ar argymellion cadeirydd, dwi ddim yn siŵr os chi'n cymryd y cwbl gyda gilydd, ond hapus I cynnig bob un ysgam.
If you could take them one at a time, Brian, because Gareth won't be voting on 4.2, as I understand that would be just between ourselves. So if you just care to propose that, and we'll I think it'll be me that seconds it.
Yeah, hapus I gynnig o ran ar argymellion 4.1 a B ac ec gyda gilydd, Jack.
Thank you very much for that, and I'm happy to second that. So can we just have a show of hands, and that is only Ceredigion and Powys. Okay, thank you very much. That's carried. We then have a wider vote, and perhaps if you'll put that, Brian, if you wish, you've indicated you're prepared to do so.
Hapus I gynnig unwaith eto 4.2 pwynt A, B ac ec unwaith eto.
Councillor Gareth, you're entitled to second rather than me doing that, if you're so inclined to do so.
Yes, I think it's a pragmatic way forward for ourselves as a park and us as a CJC, so I'm happy to second.
Thank you very much. On that basis, a show of hands again, please. Thank you very much. That's carried unanimously. And over to you again, Brian, for number 4.3.
Yeah, hapus I gynnig argymhelliad sydd yn dod o ran 4.3 hefyd.
Thank you. I'll second that. And again, I think that's just between ourselves. Thank you. So that's unanimous. Thank you very much for that. We've then got reasons for the decision, etc., in the report there. So thank you for bringing that today, Duncan. And item then 7 on the agenda is I think that this is Ivan, this is an update from yourself on the CJC regulatory environment.
Yeah, okay. And I have to turn to other colleagues as well if I forget to mention a few things, but we've spent a lot of time working with various commissioners over recent months and also Welsh Government civil servants. So we've had some positive feedback from senior civil servants to say that the CJC is perfectly acceptable to take a pragmatic approach as far as how the CJC is regulated by various commissioners. And as we do not employ anybody to work on our behalf, and at this point in time, and the process has got a structure which has ensures that we've got a good democratic representation in the various subgroups. We've explained to the Future Generations and Wellbeing Act Commissioner and the Equalities Commissioner that the statutory expectations that would normally be on a body such as this should not be applied in this instance, because we don't have the need to answer those thresholds. And most recently now, we've also written to the Welsh Language Commissioner, making exactly the same points again, that applying Welsh language standards, even though we are going way above and beyond possibly what would normally be expected of us, it wouldn't be appropriate to apply Welsh language standards in this context to the CJC itself. So we've very recently written there. We've had conversations with the Commissioner for Future Generations and Wellbeing Act, and because we've blended our wellbeing objectives from both authorities into the vision document that we've got for the CJC's way forward, and both are governed correctly, then he's happy with that. I've also then advised the Equality Commissioner that we've got our own procedures and follow the correct legislation, both in Powys and Ceredigion. And because we're only two authorities, we're complying in that way, and I've had no response back after that. So as things stand at the moment, I think that we've managed to get a level of empathy and understanding from the commissioners about what, there should be minimum requirements of us rather than the full scale accountability to the legislation that would sit with a normal body, a statutory body such as this. But it's still work in progress.
Councillor Brian Davies.
Ie, diolch yn fawr ti, Fion. Cyn i, fi'n mynd i godi fan hyn, achos bob tro dwi yn cael archwiliad i siarad am y cydbwyllgor, dwi yn sôn am yr angysondeb ar draws y cydbwyllgoriaeth draws Cymru, ble mae partneriaethau fwy o seis yn gallu cyflogi prifeithedwr, a sa'n siŵr ble maen nhw o ran swyddog 151 a swyddog monitor, ond mae yna anhegwch ar draws yna. Felly, bob cyfle dwi'n cael, dwi'n codi hwn gyda'r pobl allanol un beth bynnag. Felly, dwi ddim yn siŵr. Wel, nethon ni nodi fe beth bynnag, ond mae'n bwysig bod ni'n codi'r pwyntiau yma.
Diolch, cytuno, Brian. Mae'n anheg ar cynghorwyr sy'n cynrychioli y sefydliadau. Mae'n anheg ar yr uwchraddodion pan mae dyn yn cymharu gyda beth sy'n digwydd mewn partneriaethau gwahanol ys Gymru gyfan. Felly, diolch am godi hwnna.
Thank you very much. And I think it's important that we do note that. So don't beat yourself up, Brian, that you raise it repeatedly. I think it is good that we note that. And it's one of the unique selling points, I suppose, of what we do to demonstrate that we do things both differently and more cost effectively and efficiently than perhaps some others by wearing the two or more hats that we do as both members and as officers. So I thank you for raising that. Ivan, at the start, you suggested that you would challenge colleagues, other officers, to see whether you'd missed anything. So there are no hands, but I'm just going to sweep around Diane and others. No, it sounds like you did a thorough job there. So and I think you'll find a great deal of sympathy for amongst those on the call for the very sensible approach that both we have taken in asking the questions, and thankfully the sensible responses that we've had from the various commissioners to ensure that we carry on in this efficient and effective way that we do. So thank you for that. There being no other points in respect of that item, we've then got item 8 on the agenda, which is the CJC annual return for the year of 31st of March. And who is taking us through this, please? I thought it might be Duncan.
Yes, a double act today. Two reports from me today. Yep, so this is the annual return for 24-25. Worth noting, it is only an annual return because of the size of the CJC, so reflecting on some of the earlier comments. Just to give you a flavour, in terms of Growing Mid Wales as a joint committee, the external audit costs on Growing Mid Wales are about to go from about £2,000 a year to £27,000 a year as we cross the threshold into fuller accounts. That doesn't include additional accountancy time, which will mean there's a further cost on top of that to actually deliver fuller accounts. So it just shows the benefit of keeping a lighter touch. So we'll certainly save a significant sum in terms of external audit fees. So the report's here in the sense of we submitted, I signed and submitted the annual return back in July. We also reported the 24-25 outturn position to the meeting of this committee back in July. So it went off to Audit Wales. They've done their external audit work. Appendix 1 is their formal letter confirming their position. So they're confirming that they've audited the return. They're able to certify it and will issue a notice of completion of the audit subject to the approval of the return by this committee. And there's no other matters that they need to bring to the committee's attention. So normally Audit Wales would attend to present, but given how simple and straightforward it is, I save them that time. So in effect, committee is asked to approve the annual return, and in doing so, on the assumption the committee will approve it, then yourself, Chair, will need to sign the annual return over the next few days, and Sonia would liaise with you to make that happen, basically. So yeah, request to approve the annual return as presented.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I alighted straight upon the words "no other matters" at the end of their report, which is always something good to receive. So to get an unconditional sign off in that way, and as you say, we've kept it simple and we've had an appropriate and proportionate response. Councillor Bryan.
Ie, hapus i cynnig bod ni dilyn argymhelliad sydd o dan pwynt 4 a unwaith eto. A fynd i agwyn gyda Chwilio Cymru, felly lle ni bethau gwestiwn ni fe beth bynnag.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for that?
Am I able
Yes,
to second?
Yes, you are able to,
Yep,
to
I'm happy
second,
to
Councillor
second,
Carroll.
yep.
Thank you very much. So those in favour then, please. Thank you very much. That's unanimous on there. And I think that ends the scheduled agenda that we had. I forgot at the start of the agenda to ask whether there were any areas of AOB that they wish to be tabled. So I'll just put the question now. Are there any that have been notified to you, Steve, in advance of the meeting, or are there any that members wish to raise at this point?
I've not been notified of anything, Chair.
Thank you very much. Now, we did suggest that we might have an AOB in order just to trigger a discussion, and that was regarding the future arrangements post the Senedd elections of CJCs and partnership working in Mid Wales. Can I suggest that we just note that as an AOB and then perhaps put it on an agenda item more substantially at a further date when we've had time to reflect and consider, probably in advance of the election, but consider our strategy after that. Yes, I'm getting some support for that. So if there's agreement on that. If there is nothing else, then I would just thank you for your attendance. And Steve, the Clive and Ivan, myself and Brian wanted to have a little chat after the meeting. So Steve, if I could ask you now formally to close the meeting, and then we'll say farewell to our colleagues and stay on and have a chat.
Diolch yn fawr, Jack.